Angie from Canterbury Trails Farm. Today I'm in the kitchen and I'm making ham and beans. This is a great meal to make to use up your stock of Great Northern beans is what I normally use. The little white beans. And let me show you one just in case you don't know. And these store very well. Little white beans here. And I have, I store tons of these as well as dried split peas, these dried northern beans, dried split peas, dried lentils. I also store dried black beans, but I actually can my black beans. Usually with the white beans, I don't can them. I use them out of the big jars that I store them dried in. So we're making ham and beans. So the first thing you're going to need is 16 ounces of dried northern beans. You can either have a plastic, like a package of them, or if you store it like I do in big containers, you want to measure out 16 ounces. Today I added about 4 extra ounces just because it's spring break and I wanted to have a little bit of extra so people can eat them for lunch for a few. I also have a big ham bone with ham on it left over from a ham that I made a few weeks ago that I froze, the ham bone, and that is defrosted. I'm going to be adding that to the beans. So the first thing you want to do is put your beans in a pot and cover it with water, and you want to let it and cover it with a lid and let it soak overnight. So I have done that. So now I want to rinse my beans. So my beans have been soaking overnight, and now I'm going to go drain and rinse them. And the reason why you want to drain and rinse your beans, well, you want to drain them because we're going to change out the water, but the reason why you want to rinse them is because it's going to make the effect of eating the beans less gaseous. Now I'm going to cover my beans with water, and I want to make sure I cover the beans plus about 2 inches. Now I want to add my ham bone. Next I want to add an onion. I have this awesome onion chopper here. So I want to add 1 large onion diced up here. Next I want to add salt and pepper, and I don't really measure this out. If I did, I guess maybe 2 to 3 teaspoons of each. I tend to salt and pepper it again throughout the entire process. I also like to add a little bit of garlic powder. Stir the onions down in there. I'm going to put it on high and bring it to a boil, and then we're going to lower our pot to low. We will let it simmer for 2 to 3 hours until the beans are soft. I will check it throughout that 2 to 3 hours. When I see that the ham has fallen off the bone, I'll remove the bone. Towards the end, I'm going to add 2 cans of sliced carrots. I'll salt and pepper it again, and I'll add at least 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste. Adding the tomato paste if you've ever had Campbell's bean with bacon soup, adding the tomato paste sort of gives it that zip that it tastes sort of like the Campbell's bean with bacon. So if you leave out the tomato paste, it's going to taste like traditional just white beans and ham. But we like that little bit of zip added there. So I'm going to bring this to a boil, and then we'll look at it, and then I'm going to lower my burner to low and let it simmer for 2 to 3 hours. Also later on today I'm going to be making cornbread to go with it, and I also need to go out and plant green beans today because we're heading into the high 60s to 80 degrees for this next couple of weeks with low temperatures of about 50 to 55 and pretty steady rain because we're entering our rainy season. So I need to go get my beans out. I've been out of commission for 2 weeks since we went down to get that stuff. It really affected me really bad, and I haven't ever had, usually it's 3 days, so 2 weeks I've been basically doing nothing, and thankfully I had a lot of videos ready to go that I've been able to cover, and I haven't had to worry about that. But my supply is getting low, and my back is getting better, and I've been out up and around since yesterday, so I don't want to overdo it today, but I got green beans that need to go into the ground. So let's let this boil, and we'll come back and check it when it's boiling. Okay, my beans are boiling now. I'm going to put them on low. And I'm probably going to crack my lid a little bit so it doesn't overflow. I'm going to keep I keep a big Pyrex measure cup next to it so I can, if it looks like it's boiling down, I can add some water. What I usually do is I will add about a half a cup at a time. I want it to boil down somewhat. I don't want it to be runny. I want it to be soupy, but I don't want it to be like a broth on it. I want it to be more solid, but I don't want it to be dried out and like a big hunk of refried beans or something. I want it, you know, like pork and beans. You've had pork and beans. That's the consistency we want. We want a little bit of moisture and a sauce when we add our carrots and we add our tomato paste and all that. We want it to stay that way. So if it gets too soupy, you can drain it off towards the end, but you also don't want it to bake down, cook down so much that your beans start turning into mush. I'm going to give this a stir. I'm going to crack my lid. And I'm just going to set my timer, start with like an hour and a half, and then I'll check it, and then I'll probably do either another half hour or another hour. 2 to 3 hours is what it usually takes, and it just depends on how old the beans are really, and I think it's probably what it really it depends on how old. If I'm using really old beans, but I try to rotate my stock out, but once in a while you get a can in there that it's like I didn't date or I mixed it or something, and the beans just came harder, or they were, you know, they were already hard to begin with. I don't know. But anyway, so 2 to 3 hours is what you want to simmer it on low until your bean will squish between your fingers. So we'll come back and check it, and we'll add our rest of our ingredients at that point. I'm just going to show you an update on the beans. We have about 40 minutes left on my 3 hours. And I've removed one of the smaller bones already. And you can see the meat has come off and the bits here, and the bone is starting to get a little cleaner looking as these bits fall off here. I'm not going to add my carrots or anything yet because I don't want to have to dig through. If I have to go fishing through for bits of this bone, I'm going to don't want to have to dig through all that. So right now I'm just going to add a little bit of salt and pepper again. Alright, my cooking time is done, so I'm just seeing about getting whatever's left on the bone here off. So this is all the stuff that I took out, because I had a pretty big bone there. There's a shoulder ham. Okay. So, right now I just have it on a low simmer. I'm going to add some salt and pepper. A bit more garlic powder. I'm going to add my carrots. Now I don't want the extra water, so if you have a jar or canned carrots, you probably want to drain them off. Some of these are really big carrot slices. Okay, I'm going to start by adding just one. Okay, I'm going to stir that tomato paste in there. You'll notice a change in color almost immediately. It'll start looking more like the bean with bacon kind of soup. Still got about an hour till dinner, and because I think it's got a little bit more broth than I want to see on there, I'm just going to crack my lid and I'm going to let it continue to simmer for a while. I'm going to come back and check the beans every once in a while just to make sure that they aren't too soft. So the beans and ham are done and ready to be served. They are nice and tender and very yummy. So this has been Angie from Canterbury Trails Farm. Thank you for joining us.